and welcome back to another Mather Market Basket. I'm your facilitator, Shelby, and today we are going to be making a stuffed eggplant. But if you're like me and you don't like eggplant, let me tell you a couple different ways that we can do this. So I'll show you our ingredients and we can get started. Now, I would say one of the best parts about this recipe is that the stuffing can really be used however you want it to be. So because it's a black bean and corn stuffing to whatever vegetable, we can use whatever vegetable we want. Or we could just make that on the side and make that the dish, depending on how you're feeling. So today I have a Japanese sweet potato. I roasted it yesterday, so it's super soft. So I won't be roasting my vegetable. But if you're doing the typical recipe, you can cut your eggplant in half and roast it a little bit to make sure that it's soft, scoop it out, and then you'll put in your toppings. I also love the ingredients of this recipe, just as I said before, a standalone. So putting all of this into a bowl, adding your protein of choice. I like chicken and a little bit of taco seasoning, and it can sit in the fridge for about a week. And over time, the flavors just continue to grow. So I have right here my black beans. Now, these were dried black beans that I soaked and cooked. If you wanted to know more about that, I do have a other video where we soak navy beans. Pretty much, you let your beans soak for as long as you can. You put them on the stove and then you cook them until they're soft. It seems really daunting at first, but I've done it. I've done it like 3 times now, and it is a really great way to kind of set and forget and prep things beforehand. So I did that a couple days ago with my beans, and then I have a head of corn right here, my tomato right here, and some green onion. Also, I have a jalapeno, so I'm going to use that. And then there is avocado on the side. The avocado is optional, so don't feel like you need to add things, or if you don't like something, don't feel the pressure to use it if you don't want it. Share it, give it to somebody else, spread the love. Like I said before, my beans are already done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my corn and I'm going to pull off my leaves here. Now come on, look how gorgeous that corn is. And you can really just pull that silk off as best you can. And this is what corn looks like, you know? It's okay to have the top not fully done. We're taking it off the cob anyway, so it's not a big deal. If you have a compost bin, feel free to compost that. If not, you can just throw it away. I'm getting these out the best of my ability. And I'm just going to take this with my knife very carefully and just take those kernels off. And I'm doing it directly into this bowl because I think it's easier so that I don't have to collect it later. And just do a little rotate and just down the cob again. I think you can also do this if you don't want to use a knife or you don't feel comfortable. You can do it with a spoon, I believe. But I think that the knife is the easiest way to do it. Also, you can get really close to the cob with all the really great benefits. But let's say, you know, it's not the right season for corn. You can always use frozen corn and just defrost it. They have some really great fire roasted corn. You can use canned corn. I have used all different types of corn, and this recipe really stays the same. It's all about your seasoning. You know, at the end of the day, how you want it to taste is based off of how you season it. So now I'm going to start chopping my vegetables, and always, always, always remember to do a little claw when you're chopping your vegetables. Usually I suggest leaving the tip down and going from there. I'm using a really sharp kitchen knife that's meant to slice, so I'm just doing little slices across. But normally you might see me recommend going tip first and then just crunching down. And always, please remember to keep your tools sharp, because the sharper they are, the more likely you're going to move your hand and not get injured, which is super important. So this jalapeno is not a part of the recipe, but I like mine a little spicier. And if you still want some pepper, but you're like, I'm not into spice specifically,
That's totally okay. You can use a bell pepper if you still want that crunch, or you can use, whatever type of pepper you want. Just remember, the seeds are the spicy part, and so is the membrane. And if you're going to cut, please don't touch your eyes after because all of those oils will get in there and it will burn. Another reason we want to keep our tools really, really sharp is look how easily I cut through that tomato. If my knife was dull, it definitely would not be able to slice as nicely through my tomato. And it helps so that you can make more precise cuts. In this case, I'm just doing a rough dice. I'm definitely making it a little smaller than it needs to be, but that's okay. Everybody has their own preference. And this is just a typical Roma tomato. I cannot wait for tomato season to be upon us so that I can start harvesting my own tomatoes. I'm really excited about that. There is just so much fresh produce in the summer that is so wonderful. We have berries, we have peppers, we have corn. Really, I love this recipe too because it's such a good summer recipe and it can highlight so many healthy things for us as well. It really helps us get our fiber in, it really helps us get our vitamins in, and it helps us get our nutrients in as well. So, a different perspective from my kitchen. So, bear with me. I have been doing a lot of cooking, so my stove isn't the prettiest, even though I try to do that for you guys. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my pan to about medium heat. That's a 5 on mine. And I'm going to let it heat up for a little bit. I sprayed a little bit of oil, but in this case, our recipe calls for a tablespoon. So there's 2 tablespoons in the recipe. One is for the eggplant and one is for sauteing our vegetables. I just did a little spritz and I'm going to put in pretty much my beans first, then I'm going to add my corn, my tomato, and then I chopped up some garlic as well, so throwing all of that in, but letting our beans like toast up a little bit because again, they're cooked so they're a little soft, give them a little more texture. And I'm letting my pan heat up real quick. I'm just feeling for some warmth to make sure that it is actually warm when I start it. Okay, so my pan is hot, and this is a cup of black beans. I know because I measured it out before. And that is a lot of beans. So if you have a small eggplant, you probably don't need a cup of beans. But also, I, again, will eat this as like a side salad. I'll eat it as the base of a lot of other things. So it doesn't bother me that I'm eating or that I'm making more than I actually need. And that's one of the great things about our recipes is that they make great meal prep. So if you have an extra container, you can usually get 1 to 2 more servings out of it than what you think the recipe will give you, which is amazing. I actually do this quite often where I overfill my pan. So always just be aware of the fact that you might stuff your pan a little too full. If you have a bigger one, I would go with it. Currently, mine need washing. As I said, I've done a lot of cooking today. So I'm just using what I have, giving it a little mix in. And even if this gets to a point where it's overfilled, I will just take out my corns and my beans, saute my vegetables, and kind of mix it all in that bowl that I put the corn in because that's what it's going to end up in anyway. So I'm just letting this toast up. And then I'm going to season my corn and beans, especially since I don't think I can fit my vegetables in there as well. Our recipe calls for chili powder. If you have taco seasoning, now's a great time to use that too. Cumin, paprika, seasoning's all your own. So whatever you're feeling, feel free to add it now. Okay, so I pulled out some of my black beans and my corn so I could make room for the vegetables just to show you guys kind of what the full pan looks like. I gotta say, immediately put that in the pan and it started smelling fantastic. Absolutely love that. And just mentioning again, I added some garlic as well because we can really make these toppings our own. The recipe itself calls for cheese as well when you stuff it in the eggplant. I'm not going to do any cheese today, but always feel free to add what you want. Again, this is the beauty of the cooking is that we really get to do things our way. We can enjoy eating the things that we make because we like them, right? So I'm letting this saute a little bit. I would like, you can already see that my peppers and my tomatoes are kind of glistening. They're releasing a lot of that water. I like my jalapenos to be a little more sauteed than raw, just so that that spice flavor goes down a little bit. So I'm gonna let this cook until it's visually at a place where I want it, and I'm gonna throw it in the bowl with the rest of my corn and my black beans, and we'll come back to stuff. So, ready for lunch, and this is our lovely sauteed mix of beans, corn, jalapeno in my case, garlic, onion, and then I also have some cilantro, and I have a lime and an avocado. And what you're gonna do is once your roasted vegetable is out, again, you can use like a bell pepper or anything. I'm, in this case, using a Japanese sweet potato. You know me, I absolutely adore them. I think that they're so yummy, and I have no notes on that. I'm just gonna cut open my Japanese sweet potato so that it acts a little bit like a boat. At this point, you already have your eggplant cut into 2 pieces. And what you can do is you can then scoop out the inside here and fill your boat. So in my case, my potato might be a little too soft, but I'm just gonna scoop out my inside here. You go, and you can fill it. Your salad, bean salad. And then you can do that to both sides, and you can have a full meal. You can top it with cheese. You can also top it with the avocado. My avocado isn't fully ripe yet, so something you want to look for in your avocado is that it's soft to the touch. Right now, mine is hard. If you have the ability to put it in a brown paper bag, that ripens them up really quickly. I'm just going to leave mine out because mine has been in the fridge, so I can use it later. And pretty much, I'll fill both sides, and any extra, I will put that in a Tupperware and mix my bean salad with it, and just microwave it all for another meal. So honestly, this amount of bean salad will probably last me 3 to 4 lunches. And again, if I'm feeling a little like I want to add a variable to it, I can add my tofu in, I can add my chicken in, I can add whatever protein I want, even though the beans already have a really great source of protein. If you just want that little extra, feel free to do so. I have cilantro, so I'm going to add a little bit of that to my boat as well. But this is how you stuff a vegetable. Again, feel free to do it for eggplant, feel free to do it for peppers, feel free to do it for sweet potatoes. Anything can really be a great vessel for a really healthy meal. Or if you have too much extra, feel free to eat it on its own and make it your own. So thank you guys so much for cooking with me this month, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!